Welcome everyone who's coming in to join us. We see people rolling into the session of the Virtual Excel Academy. Welcome.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. We are here with you. We're so excited to have you. We're here being hosted by APH. Leanne Grillet, give a wave.
Oh, hello everyone.
And Charlotte, give us a wave.
Hi everyone.
From Perkins and Texas School for the Blind, and I am Cheryl Camille-Hannon, also hosting for today. We have a very special guest. We're so excited to have Kate Katulak. Is that how you say your last name?
Katulak, yep, you got it.
Katulak, like the car. Spelled a little differently, but I'm sure just as shiny and sparkling and awesome. We are excited to have you with us, and she comes to us from Perkins School for the Blind, and she's here to share with us staying at home. So as you come in, I want to also just give you a heads up. Kate is a screen reader user, and so we're going to limit the chat window functions a little bit today, just to allow her to be able to simultaneously hear JAWS speaking in one ear and herself and us on the microphones in the other ear. And so to allow that function to happen, we will be controlling the chat window and allowing you to chat and cueing you auditorily when you can chat and when we're going to disable the chat. And she will also remind you of that throughout our presentation today. So as you come in, if we could just take maybe 2 minutes to allow yourself to chat and announce yourself, tell us who you are, tell us where you're from, and I have a special question for you today. What is the one thing you have enjoyed most about staying at home? Tell us who you are, tell us where you're from, and tell us the one thing that you have enjoyed most about staying home. And I'll give you 2 minutes to quickly write that in the chat window. In the meantime, we are going to mute the microphones to allow those messages to come in.
Leave it, Dodger.
Now this one was a unique session because we were allowing the screen reader to read to Kate, but it did not read to all of us. So we have people from all over the United States coming in. And what I'd like to say now is thank you for writing in the chat. But what you're going to see now is I'm going to turn off the chat. The chat should now be turned off, which means it's quiet and it allows Kate to be able to hear us, the other panelists, herself, and I'll let you know, or she'll let you know when it gets turned back on. Take it away, Kate.
Kate,
Thank you so much.
Some of the chat as they were coming in?
I was.
Okay, fabulous.
I was listening to all of your comments. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed hearing about where you all are calling in from and what you might do. I'm really excited to get started. So thank you. This is so exciting. So again, my name is Kate Katulak, and I'm a certified teacher of students with visual impairments. And today we're beginning a unit talking about staying at home, which is very timely because I imagine that most, if not all of you, are tuning in from your homes. And I am too. So although I've communicated my need to my family for a quiet space so that I could talk with all of you today, you never know. I'm in a house with a 9-year-old boy who loves to make noises. I also happen to be in a room where there is a cat. His name is Sawyer. He's a 2-year-old love. And then I have a yellow lab named Dodger, who happens to be my guide dog. Both of my animals love making noises. My cat, in fact, I swear to you, one of his very favorite activities is walking on my keyboard and meowing only when I'm on a very important call, which is right now. You all are very important to me, and this conversation is very important to me. So I imagine at some point you may hear my cat, and if he does meow, just know that's his way of saying, I'm here, and I just want to say hi to everybody. So I appreciate your patience. As I said, this unit is focusing on staying at home, and this is the first of 4 lessons. Our topic for today is how to communicate and act on our wants and needs with everyone at home. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to define self-advocacy, understand the differences between wants and needs, identify and prioritize some of your own wants and needs, and make an action plan for communicating effectively about those wants and needs. This would be a good time to grab something to write with. If you don't already have it in front of you, this would be the opportunity to grab that laptop, iPad, note-taking device, Braille writer, pen, paper, whatever it is that you use to write. Go ahead and grab that, because there will be moments during our time today when I ask you to do some brainstorming and write things down. But don't worry, if you don't have anything to write with, that's okay. You can still fully participate. While people might be grabbing their tools to take some notes, I'm going to go over a few logistics. So right now, everybody but me, the presenter, is muted, so nobody can hear you. The chat box is also turned off, but there will be times when I ask you to write things in the chat box. I'm really hoping that this is a very interactive and engaging session, so I would love to hear from all or most of you. And we apologize in advance because we may not be able to get to everyone's questions or comments, but I will be giving my email address towards the end of our session because I'd love to connect with each and every one of you. So as I said, I am at home and I am going to state something really obvious. You probably have noticed that things are pretty different these days in your homes, in your communities, in your state, all over the place. In our states, even in our nation and the whole world, people are practicing social distancing, which means that we're being encouraged to stay home. And because of that, for me, I've noticed that routines are probably very different. For some of you, you may be experiencing a lot of really, really different times for you. Maybe you're not going to school. Maybe you're participating in school virtually or online. Your parents and other family members may not be going to work at all, or they may be going to work a lot less. You might be noticing that people are hanging out with friends or having a lot of events online. There's a lot of different things going on in these uncertain times. You may really love this. You get to be home more, you get to hang out with your animals or your family members, or play games, or you don't have to physically go to school. It may be awesome to you. Or to others, maybe this is such a drag. Maybe you really miss being around your teachers and interacting with friends, riding the school bus. Everyone has different feelings about how this experience is taking place, and that's okay. Everyone's experience is different. My experience is not the same as yours. Yours is not the same as mine. And yours is not even the same as other people who are in your home. But one thing I think everyone tuning in can agree on is that there are some unique challenges with this situation of staying home and social distancing when you're visually impaired. Now, I am totally blind. I don't see anything. When my eyes are closed or my eyes are open, it's the same to me. It's just kind of a black screen. And for me, when social distancing started to become a thing, I noticed very quickly that my needs and my wants were changing. I started having trouble getting groceries I usually rely on delivery services to get my food. And because more and more people were staying at home, not going to the stores, more people were signing up for grocery delivery, making the slots less available. And that was a challenge for me. I started worrying, what if I can't get my groceries? I was encouraged not to take public transportation or ride shares like Uber. And that's usually how I get around. So then I started to worry, what if I can't get to the store either? And I often ask people for help. Sometimes I ask to take someone's elbow to guide me, human guide. And with social distancing, they can't guide me, at least not human guide, from 6 feet away. So I started feeling very unsettled. And the needs that I'd had and the needs that I'd learned to deal with over years of being blind suddenly started changing. And that made me feel worried. And as I said, I'm also a teacher. I work with students who are visually impaired, and I've been talking to them about what they're feeling and experiencing and what their needs and wants are and how they have changed as social distancing has become a thing and we are all staying at home. And my students started saying things like, I'm frustrated. I'm not used to everyone being at home. There are things around the house that aren't usually there. There are people who aren't usually in every room, and everyone's using Zoom or Google Hangouts, and the internet is more crowded and it's harder for me to do what I want. And mom asks me to be quiet from 9 to 5 every weekday because she has to be on webinars and phone meetings and all kinds of things. And I want to be more independent, but I can't go on my typical routes, and I miss my friends. And all of these things started flooding in, all of these new needs and wants from the students. And they wondered how to best communicate them, to advocate for the things that would help their situation better. So this unit on staying home, and today specifically, as we learn to communicate our needs and wants, is all about being able to identify what those needs and wants are and communicate them so you and your family members can thrive. So that's why we're talking. I want to hear from all of you. So we're going to turn on the chat feature, and I want you to type in what are some of the needs and wants that you have experienced as a result of being home more.
Okay, they can speak. Now this will be the interesting part, Kate, is most people only write to us, which means no one else can hear those things. So if you can repeat what they write, that would be helpful.
Absolutely.
Participants should be able to type, so I'm hoping to see some people typing in the chat box.
I'm hearing a teacher saying that they're experiencing a need to interact with students. And that's really hard because, first of all, technology skills are needed. I'm hearing from people that they have to use Zoom, that they're having trouble finding ways to stay engaged and be busy, feeling bored. I'm hearing from others that they miss school, miss their friends. I want to go to the store. I want to do homework, someone says. Wow, did you ever think that you'd be missing doing homework? A teacher is saying that they find it hard to teach Braille from a distance. Thank you all for your comments. Other people are saying some of the same things. They're supporting you who've said they miss their friends. They want to go to the gym. They want to get back to their regular routines. All of these things make a lot of sense. One person said they're feeling quite restless. I agree with that. I've noticed that since I can't go to the gym and I can't just go to a restaurant and have dinner with friends, I find myself feeling a little bit bored. So thank you all for your comments. We're going to go ahead and close the chat box now. Really appreciate all of your input. So now that we've identified some of those challenges, what I want to do is I want to think about what we can do about it. Your world might feel a little smaller right now because you're not taking the bus, going to school. Your family members are staying home and they're not bringing in people. But with that comes opportunities to learn more about yourself and explore things that you might be interested in. So that's one thing that I've really learned to do throughout this social distancing time is really think about, who am I? What do I want to be doing even though I'm stuck inside? Maybe I could find a new hobby like writing and journaling, and maybe I'll start a webinar. That would be a lot of fun. So here I am. Some other examples before we get to the problem solving phase. Some things that my students have talked about is having fewer opportunities to be independent. Some of the students have said that they're used to being at school and making decisions for themselves without their parents hearing everything they say. And right now, as we're all home, our parents and other family members, caregivers, they're right there making all the decisions for us, or more than we would like. Also, you may have regular routes that you're used to walking independently, or you're working maybe with a mobility instructor on building some of that independence, and those lessons may have stopped or may have changed. Another challenge I'm having is my family, they're feeling bored too, just like I am. So they're picking up new hobbies, and some of those hobbies just get in my way. I wonder if any of you have found that your households are getting more deliveries from Amazon, from Target, places they're delivering. And with every delivery, that means there's a package or a cardboard box. And I would swear that my house must be made of those things by now, because there are just cardboard boxes laying everywhere in the paths where I usually walk. Usually where there's nothing, now there's stuff that I have to get around. Maybe my family's taking up hobbies like making puzzles, or a hobby like collecting coins. Whatever it is, my nephew loves to play with clay and collect seashells. And suddenly I'm finding that all over the tables and the floors and chairs everywhere, there's seashells and there's clay and there's coins and all kinds of things. And when you are visually impaired, you have to be able to navigate those things. So again, the focus of today is to identify our wants and needs, and then find ways to communicate them effectively so everyone at home is on the same page. This means we get to talk about one of my very favorite topics, self-advocacy. So we're going to turn the chat feature back on, and I want to hear from some of you. What is self-advocacy?
Okay. You are able to type in your chat. And Kate, if you'll repeat, that was great last time.
What is self-advocacy? You could write definitions in the chat box. What is self-advocacy? Being able to make my needs known to others is what someone said. Jane says standing up for myself. Christina, actually I didn't catch that. Saying what you need, I think. Standing up for yourself. Britt, tell others what I need. Parker, find out who you are. Self-advocacy is doing what you believe. Great, I'll take a couple more. Knowing your strengths and your weaknesses, that's a good one, great. Nina, telling people what I need and I want. Excellent, those were great definitions, thank you. Okay, again, we're gonna turn off the chat feature. And just to reiterate why we're turning off the chat feature at times, I think this may be interesting to some of you. As you're typing in the chat box, I am wearing an earphone in my ear that's connected to my laptop, and I'm using JAWS screen reader. So when you send your message, I hear it in my ear and I'm repeating what JAWS is saying. I'm also following an outline that I've written on my computer for how I want this webinar to go. So it's a lot to juggle. And so if I'm trying to listen to JAWS and hear my outline, and people are typing in the chat box when I'm trying to listen, there would just be so much I was trying to hear that I could get confused. So I really appreciate your patience with that. And I also really appreciate the responses that we've been getting. So self-advocacy, those were some excellent definitions. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. To review, self-advocacy is all the things you mentioned. I kind of think of it as being able to speak up for yourself. But in order to speak up for yourself, you have to know what you're speaking up about. In other words, what are your wants and what are your needs? And once you've identified what those wants and needs are, you must communicate them. You must be able to express them to yourself, to other people. This might sound easy, but it's actually harder than you might think. I want to share a quick story that happened to me when I started with the social distancing thing. So I live in Massachusetts, but as I said, when social distancing started happening, I found it difficult to access groceries and public transportation. And really, I just wanted to be with my family because the school where I work closed. And so I wasn't going to physically be going to work. So I decided that I would head to Connecticut and stay with my sister and her family because we're all very, very close. When I got here, I spent a few days just trying to be patient, but not really acknowledging or paying attention to my needs and my wants. So remember, I'm used to living on my own. I'm an adult who I cook for myself, I clean for myself, I choose what I want to eat, I choose when I'm going to leave the house, I choose when I'm going to come back, all of the great things about being an independent adult. And then I came to my sister's house, and while I was having a really great time, some of those choices got taken away. I was eating what they were cooking, which I appreciated, but it wasn't my choice. When they got groceries, they were picking out the food that we were going to have. I'm not familiar with this environment, with this neighborhood, and there really aren't a lot of sidewalks. So I didn't feel safe leaving the house on my own and exploring. So I felt like I couldn't leave the house when I wanted to. So I had some needs and some wants that I felt like I wasn't addressing. And I chose not to say anything because I'm a guest in someone else's house. And although they're family, I didn't want to be an imposition. I didn't want to make them feel like they had to help me all the time, that they had to think about, oh, does Kate want to go for a walk? Oh, what does Kate want for groceries? What does Kate want for dinner? I wanted to just kind of blend in because I was so appreciative that they were allowing me to be in their house. But then I started feeling anxious and I started feeling frustrated, even angry. I felt like there was this big loss of control and it became very overwhelming. So it was about my third day of being in my sister's house. And before that, I hadn't said anything except thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for cooking. Thank you for getting the groceries. Thank you for going for walks when you're available with me. But then on that third day, when all of those feelings of frustration built up, built, they finally exploded. And I said, I can't take it anymore. I'm an adult and I'm independent. And I happen to be blind, but I am confident and capable, and I want to have more choice. And I have some needs and some wants that need to be addressed. So I shared some of those things with them, and they listened, they heard me, and together we made a plan for how things could go more smoothly. And now I've been here for 3 whole weeks. And I am smiling and I am happy because now I go for walks when I want to. Because I communicated my need to be more independent and leave the house when I want, my sister and I, we worked together for days. She taught me routes, showed me paths that I could take and go with my guide dog and be independent so I could get away and be on my own. We discovered that there were a couple of delivery services that still came here, so I put together lists. And then when those became unavailable, I wrote down the items, the grocery items that I wanted in the house, and I gave them money for that. And maybe that's not something you can do. Maybe you don't have a job, you might be too young, you might not be working, but we're going to talk about how you can adopt some of these strategies by communicating and identifying resources you do have to make you and your family thrive. So again, with my situation, I let everything kind of build up before communicating about my wants and needs. And when I did, although it came out in sort of an explosion, because I wish I had said things sooner, I'm glad that I did communicate finally, because we were able to make a plan that worked for everyone. Okay. So I've named some of my needs and wants, from wanting to be able to go for a walk when and where I want, to being able to get the food I want, being in a different home than my own. But now I want to hear what some of your wants and needs are. Before we turn on the chat box, I want to think about what is the difference between a want and a need, okay? So I want you to think about what is the difference between a want and a need. Okay, we're going to turn the chat box on now, and I'm going to listen with JAWS, and I'm going to read to all of you some of your responses. What is the difference between a want and a need?
Go ahead and add it to the chat box. I think you have a lot of
JAWS is
thinkers
very
out
quiet
there.
right now. A want is not as important as a need. Thank you to the person who wrote that in. Janet says a need is something I have to survive. A want is something that I would like to have. Excellent. Anyone else? A need is something that is essential or more fundamental. Excellent. We'll take one more thought. What is the difference between a want and a need? Okay. I'm going to summarize what this person wrote. That was an excellent response about how, again, wants are things that we desire and needs are more important for survival. Great. Thank you all. So as our wonderful participants have put, wants are things that you would like to have, but needs are things that you really have to have, either to survive or to function, or like, do you want or do you need to breathe air? You need to breathe air. Without oxygen, without the ability to breathe, you can't survive. Do you want or do you need water? Water is something that you need, again, to live. Do you want or do you need Pepsi? I'm hoping that all of you are thinking it's something that you want. And let me tell you, I love Pepsi. So I really, really, really want it. But is it something that I have to survive? No. I can live without it. I don't like to, but I can. And so I think it's important that we distinguish between wants and needs as we think about what's important to communicate to people who are also at home. So right now would be a good time, if you don't already have your writing tool in front of you, to go ahead and get that out, because we're going to do a little writing activity. What you're going to do is you're going to make 1 or 2 lists. And on this list, you're going to write some of your wants and some of your needs. And you can choose to do this in a couple of different ways. You can write one list of your wants. Think about all the things you really want and write them down. And then you can write a separate list called needs and write down all the things you feel you need to survive. That would be having two separate lists. Or you can brainstorm your wants and needs at the same time and write them down, and then separate them, maybe in parentheses after each one, right? Whether it's a want or a need. So we're going to take a few minutes, and on your own devices, not in the chat box, just on your own devices, or if you don't have a writing tool, just think about it in your head. I want you to explore, what are your wants and what are your needs right now? And again, today we're talking about being at home, social distancing, all of the things that have changed since you and your family started to be at home more. So as you're thinking about and writing out your wants and your needs, think about those things as they relate to your current situation. I'm hoping that everyone is writing down at least a few things they feel they really need to survive, and a few things you feel you want. Now we're going to turn on the chat feature. And in the chat box, I want to hear from some of you. So first, we're going to start with needs. What are some things that you feel right now you really, really need in this age of social distancing and being at home? One person, Rita, says makeup. Water, air, food, people, shelter, I heard. School from another person. Health. Someone said chips. Masks and gloves, says Gabby. Cindy, time alone. God. Food. Mask, toilet paper, income to pay bills. Great, I'll take a couple more. Freedom, good one. To wash your hands, excellent. All right, thank you. I'm gonna ask that you pause writing in the chat box as I talk for a little bit about some of the needs that you all said. So as I read some of those, I'm thinking, I agree. I need a lot of the things that were mentioned. But then I also thought about some of the things that I feel I don't really need, like chips. I love potato chips, but for me, it's more of a want. But I don't know the situation of the person who wrote that. Maybe, who knows, maybe their health really requires that they have a certain number of carbohydrates every single day, or a certain number of calories every single day. And potato chips is really the only thing that they can eat. I have no idea. So we really don't know the situations of other people. So I so appreciate you all sharing what your needs and your wants are. Wants is coming now. So go ahead and type into the chat box, what are some of the things that you feel you want in this age of social distancing and staying at home? Drawing tablet, something that you want. Makeup, again. Samantha says to go to the beach. I want that too. Janet says a really sunny day to go outside. That would be great. Luca wants to play games with their family. Excellent. Someone agrees they need makeup. Restraint, food to go places. Rita says to be warm. Rita, I hope you're not cold. Someone says they want to go outside. Isabella wants to be with friends. I want to have my own webinar. Great. I'll take one more. I want to go rock climbing Monday through Thursday. That would be amazing. I don't know where you live, but I'm coming along. So thank you all for sharing your wants. So now that you have written some of the things you want and some of the things you need, the next step is to prioritize them, to order them by importance. So I want you to read through your list or think about your wants and needs and choose the one that is the most important to you. Of all the things you have thought of or written, and hopefully there are many, what is the one that is just so super important? You must have it now. And for me, there are things that I need that I already have. Like I already have air. I have an unlimited supply of air available to me. I have water, an unlimited supply of water. I have food. I already have my basic needs being met. But again, in this time of social distancing and staying at home, my needs have changed a bit. My most basic needs are being met. But for me, having the freedom to get outside was more than a want. It was something that I felt I really needed, maybe not to survive, but to feel okay. I didn't want to feel sad. I didn't want to feel overwhelmed. I felt like I needed to be able to breathe outside and to walk outside. So that, when I came to my sisters, was my top most important need. Sometimes your wants can be needs and your needs can be wants. Maybe they fit into both categories, and that's okay. But I want you to take a moment to identify what is the most important to you. And then, once you have chosen the most important one, choose what is the second most important thing that you want or need. And after you have your second, what is the third? So by the end, I'm hoping that you have identified your top 3 most important needs and wants. Now, you may be asking yourself, why in the world are we doing this? We're supposed to be talking about staying at home and communicating our wants and needs. But in order to communicate what you want and need, you have to know what those things are. And you can't get everything at once. So I want you to imagine that you walk up to your parents, your caregivers, and you're like, listen, Ma, I have thought about this whole staying at home thing, and I figured out that I want some things. So I really need you to get me a dog and a new computer with JAWS. Oh, and a cat would be great too. And like I said, I love Pepsi. So if I could just have a couple 12 packs of those, that'd be great. I love candy. I'm going to need you to get me some Sour Patch Kids. You're going to need to label my laundry machine so that I can independently do my laundry. And you just keep going on and on and on and on and on. How do you think the person listening is going to feel? I know that if someone came up to me and just started going over all of these things that they want and need, I'm just going to feel overwhelmed. I'm going to be thinking, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to do about this. This is too much. There's no way that I could help you get all the things you want and need. But if that person came to me and they had 1, maybe 2, maybe even 3 things that they said they wanted or needed, and they could tell me why, I'd be so much more likely to listen and help make a plan. And my guess is that for all of you with your families, even with your teachers and others, if you put your needs and wants, if you identify them and put them in an order of importance, choose the top 1, 2, or 3, and then communicate them, you're much more likely to be met by someone supporting you to get those things. Now let's talk about how to communicate. And before we do, I want to take a moment and see if there are any questions. So please type your questions into the chat box, hoping for questions related to the things we're talking about. Being at home with your families, identifying wants and needs, putting them in order by importance, and soon we'll talk about communicating those wants and needs. Are there any questions? Feel free to type away in your chat box. I'm not hearing any questions yet. Laura has asked if it's noisy at my home, and I will say that at times my house is very noisy, and I might have to communicate with my family, hey, listen, I'm trying to take a nap right now, or I'm about to be on a really important call, and I'd appreciate it if you guys wouldn't mind just keeping your voices down. Someone asked, how can you tell the difference between a want and a need? What an excellent question. For me, again, I know I need something if, one, you can't survive without it. But sometimes you may have a want that, although you could survive, you feel like it's really something that's very, very, very important to you. And that's kind of what I was talking about with going for walks. Although, yes, I could keep breathing, keep waking up each day if I don't get my walk, it's so vital, so important to my mental health, to my physical health, my happiness, that I felt it's that important that I have to say something and make a plan so I could go on those. Any other questions about the stuff we've been talking about so far? This is a good question. I bet this resonates or holds true with many of you. What if I feel I want something, but my parents don't think so? Wow, what a powerful question. I bet many of you can relate to that question. I want you all to think about a situation when that might have happened to you. Have you ever felt like you really needed something or even really wanted something, but your parents are like, I don't think you need that. And that can happen with our parents and caregivers, but it can also happen with our teachers. It can happen with our friends. Sometimes there's disagreement. You might feel you want or need something, and somebody else who could help you get it might not feel that way. Maybe they feel like, it's really not that important. So what do you do about that? For me, when I feel like I really, really, really need something and I need someone else's help to get it, but they don't feel that I need it, communication is the best way to get them on the same page as me. So with your parents, if there's something that you feel you really need or even want, but they don't agree, I recommend talking to them, telling them in very clear ways what it is you want or need, and explaining why you want and need it. When you provide an explanation, people are more likely to understand where you're coming from and offer support to you. Also, when I was younger, I know that one of the things that really helped my parents understand where I was coming from when I wanted or needing something is if I helped make the plan, if I helped brainstorm how I could get the thing I wanted or needed. So let's say the thing I wanted was the latest and greatest iPhone, but my parents were like, that's too expensive, you don't really need it, not something we're going to prioritize right now. Then I might say, I understand where you're coming from, but let me tell you a little bit about why I feel I need the newest iPhone. And they might come back to me and say, well, do you really need it, or is it more of a want? And I want you guys to think about that for a second. Getting the newest iPhone. Is that a need or is that a want? I can't answer that for you because we all have different circumstances. And what are needs to one person might be a want for someone else. For me, getting the newest iPhone would be a want. But for someone maybe who relies on their iPhone for safety, maybe it's the only way that they can make calls to their parents or to their school or whatever. Maybe it is a need. I don't know. Many of you are coming in the chat box and saying that they feel an iPhone, the newest iPhone would be a want, but I'm also hearing some people saying that they feel it would be in between. Whichever it is, that iPhone or whatever it is that you want or need and your parents just don't get it, communicating to them about why it's important to you, how it would help you, how it would benefit you, and creating a plan together for how you can get it might just serve you. All right, so we're gonna close the chat box again, and we are gonna talk a little bit about communication. So we've already done the first very important step, which is identifying our most important wants and needs. Now we're ready to figure out how in the world do we communicate them to people in our lives, like our parents, other family members and caregivers, our friends, our teachers. So again, we have to figure out with whom you want to communicate. And for most of us right now, being at home, that's probably going to be our family members, maybe our parents, right? They are the holders of the power. They are the ones with the decision making. And often, if that thing you want or need costs money, they're the ones with the cash. So you may identify a parent or caregiver as the person with whom you need to communicate about whatever it is that you want or need. It might be somebody else though. Whoever it is, maybe it's a brother, maybe the thing that you really want or need is to be left alone while you're getting your homework done each day. Whoever it is who you need to communicate with, you have to then think about what is the best time. When it comes to communicating, time is everything. Have you ever encountered a situation where you asked for something at just the wrong time? Like maybe a mom or a dad or a grandma is really, 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 really upset, and you could just tell they're in a bad mood. Would that be the right time to say, hey, how about that new iPhone? I mentioned that I really, really, really want it. Probably not. You probably want to find a better time when that person is in a better mood, when they're feeling more calm, and when they have a chance to really listen. So timing is really important. And what we're talking about now is making a plan. So your plan is, after you've identified your needs and wants, identifying the person with whom you're going to communicate, figuring out the best timing, and then we have to think about what are we going to say, how are we going to say it, and how is it going to come out. So we are going to do a final activity where you are going to jot down a few different pieces of information. So think back or look at your list of things that you wrote down. What was your top need or your top want? And I want you to make an action plan for how you are going to go about communicating that want or need. And we're going to think of some of the factors that I already mentioned. So identify your top need or want and either write it down or have it in your head. Next, I want you to write down or think of the person with whom you need to communicate. Who is your best resource for helping you access what you want and or need? Next, when is a good time to talk to them? You may have to brainstorm a bit. You could be literal about it. You might think 3 p.m. on Wednesday is the best time to talk to my sister about what I need. Or you might be thinking about how your father is in the best mood in the morning. More than any other time of day, he's in a good mood in the morning. So that's the best time to talk to him about it. Or you might be thinking during dinner time when our family is all together sitting at the same table. That would be a good time to talk to my mom. Or maybe you're excluding some times that really wouldn't be good. So far, you have written down or thought of your top need or want, with whom you need to communicate, when you think a good time to talk to them about this thing you need or want is. And lastly, this may be the hardest part of all, what are you going to say? It's a very important piece. There are lots of approaches to how to communicate with people, lots of things that matter. It's the words we choose, it's the tone of our voice, it's our facial expressions and our body language, it's the pace at which we speak, how fast, how slow we're talking, it's the energy behind what we're saying, and it's the reasoning, again, the words that we choose, it's the reasoning that we give for why we want or need something. So over these next couple of minutes, I want you to write down what you might say to the person whom you are talking, communicating about what you want and need. And feel free to type your what I'm going to say in the chat box, and I will share some of them. So go ahead and brainstorm, and I will read. If I hear anyone sharing with us, I will read them out loud. Nothing's coming in quite yet. I'm hoping people are brainstorming and writing down what they will say to communicate what they want or need. Feel free to share in your chat box. From Sam, I heard my top want is to get more independence. And Sam, if you would like to share how you will ask for that, that would be great, or how you would communicate. I want to be good with hosting Zoom, someone says, so that might be what they say. Tell the person why it is very important to you. That's a great strategy. Again, explanation. Telling someone why. What are some other ideas? What would you say to communicate to someone? Someone says, I need the new AirPods. And what I would add to that is why that is a need for you. Mom, I really want some chips, and this is why. And I would say it calmly, says someone. Great. I like how you said you would say it calmly, because again, how we ask for something, how we communicate is really important. And someone else says, be nice. Yeah. So I'm going to model a few different ways to ask for chips. Okay. So just imagine this. I'm in my kitchen and there are some chips I know are in the cupboard and I just have to have them. I could say, hey, give me the chips. Oh my gosh. How do you think your parents would respond to that? Yikes, right? Another option, I could say, what about those chips? But that's not really clear. Am I asking for them? Am I saying why I want them? No, that's not really clearly communicating. That's not being an effective communicator. Or I could say, I think you have some chips that I really love in the cupboard. Would it be okay if I had some for snack? I really love how they taste. I'm calm, I'm friendly. I would have thought about the best time to ask. I like that someone just talked about talking to her daughter about putting a schedule putting a schedule up and then asking for the daughter's opinion about it, that's great. So what I'm hearing there is getting input from the person with whom you're communicating and making a plan together rather than just saying, hey, you go get me those chips. It's like, hey, I'd really like some chips. Would you mind helping me get them? Or is there something I have to eat, like maybe vegetables, in order for me to get some chips? It's all about the presentation. So we only have a few minutes left. Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm going to open up the chat box now for questions or additional comments. Somebody just said, chips aren't even worth it unless they're tortillas. That made me laugh. I agree, tortilla chips are amazing, especially with salsa. Somebody says that they struggle because their parents say, all you do is ask and it just doesn't work. That can be tough, yeah. Maybe try explaining more about what you want and why you want it. Also, sometimes when we think about communicating our asks or communicating our wants and needs, you have to think about how often you're asking and talking about it. So for instance, someone in my family, I won't name names, is always asking for a new video game. It's like at least 10 times a day I hear, how about that video game? Can I have that video game? It'd be really great if I had the video game. And while they do tell why they want it, it just, the ask happens too often. And it can be really tough to handle that. So think about how often you're asking for things. Maybe you're asking too much. Maybe you're not reminding the person enough. What other thoughts? Do you guys have questions?
You had two
comments
people ask about how much you can see, and do you have a seeing eye dog?
Oh, great question. Thank you for your question. I do not see anything at all. So for me, when I have my eyes open, it's totally black. And I have been blind since I was a teenager. I got very sick and the virus caused me to lose my eyesight. And I do have a guide dog. His name is Dodger, and he's a 70-pound light yellow Labrador retriever. And the thing I want to mention about him also is that he is adorable and he's a really good guide too. What other questions? We have just about a minute or two left. What's my favorite food? Oh, goodness. That question just came in. My favorite food is probably lasagna. I got a question about what is your eye disease? I got sick, a virus called meningitis. Do I use any apps? I use many, many apps. I use Seeing AI, Be My Eyes, Ira, TapTapSee, Netflix, Facebook, goodness, many, many things. Any other questions that our moderators saw and want to address? A lot were coming in as I was talking, so I was muting them.
Kate, this is Charlotte. I think a lot of people want to know when you'll be back. And one person said she was going to miss you so much she didn't know what she was going to do between now and your next session. So maybe we'll
oh my goodness. Well,
we've just got one more minute anyway. So let's tell them when you'll be back so we can be sure to have them back again too.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in. This has been a lot of fun for me. And I've had so much fun that I'm going to be back on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we'll be continuing with this series, this unit on staying home. And on Thursday, we're going to be talking about maintaining social, making friends and things like that, despite social distancing. So how to connect with other people, even if it's not in person. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Kate. We love that.
Thank you, Kate, for being with us and for sharing your story. I really appreciated your personal story when you first started out our webinar today. And for those of you at home who may have missed the first 15 minutes or 20 minutes of Kate's presentation, she was talking about some of the challenges she's had personally. And it really is incredibly valuable. If you did miss it, please go back online and try and pull down this session. It will be posted. It usually takes us about a week to get it closed captioned and posted, but it is posted on Paths to Literacy. And if you did miss any part of it, or if you want to share this session with others, please share that link because it was an incredible story. So thank you, Kate, for sharing your very personal experience and being open with us and sharing that with us. A couple of announcements. First, the important one, being from California, we love our Dodger dogs. So I'm so happy to hear you have one at home. And how cool is that? It's like the Dodger mascot. Those of you who may not be familiar with the Dodgers, that is our local baseball team in California. So, and we joke about having the Dodger dogs. They're famous at their stadium for their hot dogs, and we call them Dodger dogs. So it was just a little inside joke from California. A couple of announcements, more serious ones. Those of you who are at home, you know, we have pictures for every single one of our presentations, and they're little slides that go on our website, and we really need some models for our pictures. So if you are someone who likes to take selfies, or if you have someone who is there who can take a photograph of you, perhaps using your Braille, perhaps using a magnification device, or maybe chatting by computer or phone, whatever your favorite thing is that you love to do, would you please take a picture and send it to Leanne? Her email is on our website, but she will also in a second hopefully turn on the chat just to type that in. And the other announcement that I wanted to make also in regards to Leanne is that tomorrow we have a really special seminar that APH is going to be putting on that's not at the local tune-in hour at your time right now, but it's earlier in the day from where you might be. And so I also want her to share a little bit about that. And I'm going to put that link in the chat window so you can also reference that. And maybe Leanne, you can take a little second to talk about that.
Sure, we are doing magnification for students on the go. So this is more of an adult session, but you are welcome to attend if you're an older student. This is for low vision students who are using electronic magnification devices. And we're going to talk about the Jupiter and the VideoMag HD, which are two of the devices that are available on federal quota dollars, which is what helps support students in America get materials from the American Printing House for the Blind. So you are welcome to join us. That's at noon Eastern Standard Time. So you'll have to bounce backward if you are an earlier time zone. It will be recorded, so you will also be able to see it posted on the APH website, as well as all of the Excel videos are posted on APH as well.
Thank you. And that webinar, if you go to that link, there will be more from APH. I think there's one next week as well. So keep on checking that link at APH because there's a lot more to come. I have two more announcements. Tomorrow, we have Story Hour with Adam Wilton using a light box. So this is for a younger audience, but we always welcome any participants who would like to join us. But tomorrow's session, Lightbox Story Hour with Adam Wilton. And then last, Kate, again, we just want to thank you. What a wonderful session. Some of the students were typing in the chat box that they can't wait for the next one. So we all look forward to those of you at home joining us again on Thursday. Have a great rest of your day, everyone, and we'll see you hopefully again this week or tomorrow.
Bye. Thanks for